Hi everybody, TJ Mac Vintage Cards and Nostalgia here. And in today's video, I thought it'd be fun to show how I store my cards when they're not on display. For those who've been subscribed to my channel for a while, know that I have a multimedia room that I use with the family. They play games and we watch movies and sports in there. But I also have 7 graded card cases on the walls that allow me to display about 270 graded cards, which is less than 10% of my collection. So the cards that are not being displayed at that time, which again is over 90% of my cards, I have these Rubbermaid totes that have 4 of the shoe boxes that you see setting in the top inside each one of them that holds the cards. Now this approach for me works because it gives me the mobility to be able to move the totes into the multimedia room where I display the cards. I can change the cases out fairly quickly. It also affords me organization because I can put all the cards together by sport and by year and any other theme that I use to display my cards so I can access them pretty quickly. We all have our own quirky ways, or at least many of us do, of how we like to store things, that we have our own filing system in our head. So I have mine for some of the other cards that I have. But it's predominantly by sport, year, and in number order. So that is my approach as far as storing from a mobility purpose. I also like protection. I like to have my cards in a darkened area. I have a climate controlled area I store them in. And these totes also afford protection from water, even though I'm not really worried about flooding because they're not in a basement, but it's still nice to have that added protection. And it's just another feature that I like. And it also, for security purposes, I can move my cards around fairly easily because they are mobile in these totes. So those are all things that are important to me. How I organize my cards as well is I have every card in my collection, again, about 2,600 or so graded cards, recorded in VCP by the price when I bought them and all that information. So if something ever happened to me, my family can have access to it and be able to get that information fairly quickly. So my oldest son and my wife have that information, which is important for an added security feature. So I just like to have all that in place. As many know, I don't show my face in my videos. I'm a private person, and just the work I do for a living and things like that. I just like my privacy. Some call it being a hand model. Well, that's fine with me. I just like to keep my stuff protected and just value my privacy. Doesn't mean I don't like to be communicative and friendly in the community. I just hope people respect that. That's just my approach to the hobby. So with that, I'll go ahead and show what's inside some of these shoe boxes now. This first case I have here has my 1950s Bowman and Topps football cards in them. And it's not all the ones I have, but it's predominantly the Hall of Famers and stars. And you can see them sorted here. At the top is Wyatt Tittle's rookie. That's a 50 Bowman. And then I have a 51 Bowman and then 52 Bowman. And they're stacked up. And I'll give you a closer look. But in this case would be 50, 51, and 52. Then underneath 53, 55. And then 56, 57, 58. And then on the bottom would be 59 to 61. And again, I have some overflow cases that I have, or some overflow shoe boxes that I store other cards from these years because I can only get so many in, but I try to keep my main important cards, or the cards I like most, in this specific tote from that era. So here you can see some of my 1950 Bowman cards. I showed these off not too long ago in a video, but they're all stacked in here. And then these would be the 51s. And then I have some 52s as well, as you can see in here. And just different cards from these sets that I keep. I'm not going to show all the cards. I'm not much of a rummage person. I really like to speak about my cards, but I just thought for storage purposes you can just kind of see how they're all organized. You just have different ones in here. Here's an example of one of my 58 and 59 Topps baseball bins. So you can just see different cards from that set in here. And then there'll be some 59s as well in this row. Here's the mantle. You see it a little better. And down here's the banks. Bob Gibson. It's Clemente. Just some different cards from the set. I have a lot of Topps Tiffany Hall of Famers, and from 88, 89 Topps, 87 Topps as well. You can just see some of them in here. I bought these quite a while ago. I always thought the Tiffany were a much better alternative to the regular Topps issues. There's just some 89s. And I've showcased the 88 in a previous video. I mean, we have a lot of old videos out there that not everybody goes back and watches, which I don't blame you. There's a lot of content out there. But I showed my 88 Tiffany in a showcase a while back, the 30 key cards from the set. And I haven't finished the 89 yet. I got a lot of them. I need a few more still. But this is where I store them. There's an example of 64 and 65 Topps. Some different cards I have from those sets. And again, I have totes and shoe boxes for all the years I collect. So for football, it's 1950 to 1989, and then baseball, I collect in the 30s all the way up, but to 89. But most of my collection is 56 to 1989, and then I'm slowly working my way back. You just can see some in here. Here's an example of a hockey one. It's my 74 hockey. 75. I got Topps and O-Pee-Chee. Like, try to get an example of and I don't want both the Topps and the O-Pee-Chee cards, but I like to get either the Topps or an O-Pee-Chee from those years. And they're all 76s on this row, all 75s here, and then 74s. The holder is varying thickness. I'm predominantly a PSA person, although I will get SGC, but I've collected since 2000 graded cards, since the year 2000, so PSA was the main player back then. There really wasn't a lot of SGC and BBG as much, so I went the PSA route, but I'm not afraid to buy SGC as well. I prefer PSA, but I like SGC too. I'm just trying to get the best cards. I know some call it a Frankenstein type collection. Well, I want the best quality cards at the best price, so I don't really worry as much about SGC or PSA. I want to get good quality cards that display nicely. And when you put them in the cases, some of the cases I have, it's even hard to tell what grading company it is because you're more focused on the card, which is important to me. Now, it's always about, for me, getting the best looking cards I can get at the best price, because I really do like how they display, and it's really what I build my collection on. So I will wait out to get as best examples I can afford. And because of that, there'll be some cards that I'll never own, and that's okay, because I'm really content with how I've built my collection. And that's really how we should be, right? We should appreciate what we have, and then just over time we can build and acquire the collection that we're desiring to achieve. This is a pretty special little shoebox here. This is really my childhood football watching, the early 80s here. You got 80 Topps, just some different players from that time. And then 81 Topps. I ripped so many of these packs as a kid in 81. Just some different cards. And then slide over a little bit, the 82. And I'll showcase all these closer in future videos. I like to keep my content at a good pace so I can really show off my collection and just really what I love about sports, and just have the type of content to where I'm doing it on my terms, where I can really communicate my love of the sports, the history, the nostalgia, and it enables me to do that. And I really amass my collection in such a way that it just captures that. So in the baseball shoe boxes I showed, like the 58 and 59 Topps and the 64 and 65, and then the 88 and 89 Tiffany, those all are set to hold 30 cards, the 30 key cards from each of those sets, which is in each of those boxes. I still need a few more for 1989, like I said, but the other ones have the 30 key cards. These are just extra bins that I keep that have cards that aren't in the 30 key card cut, but are just cards that I've added. I've been adding to my Richie Allen collection lately. Here's a really nice Burt Blyleven that I picked up. Again, it's SGC holder, but it's a beautiful card, and I got a good price on it. Why would I not get it? I don't have a lot of Blyleven cards in my collection. So those are just some different ones that I put together, and I build some of my themes out of these extra boxes of cards that I have, because it enables me to put them in with some of the other cards of those 30 card groupings that I put together. Like Richie Allen will eventually be in the Hall of Fame, and I want him reflected in my collection. And even if he's not, I really don't care. I think he was a great player. I don't need the Hall of Fame to tell me that. I read enough on my own about baseball to know that. So now we're in my card room, and I thought it'd be good to show. Here's my 1956 Topps cards. And I know they're vertical. I just don't have a setup that I want for horizontal at this time. And I actually don't know if I struggle with the horizontal versus vertical. I just like the way they look in this format. So that's how I keep them. Here's a closer look. You're going to get some glare, but I just love how they look in display cases. I know not everybody has the room, and that's understandable. So you got to do what works for you. Some people like binders. That's fine too. Really, like we say, no wrong way to collect, but we collect according to our personalities and just the means that we have, and before us to be able to build a collection. So just do what we can. I just think they look, again, fantastic this way. And here's one of my hockey cases. Closer look at some of those cards. I don't have nearly as many hockey cards as I have baseball and football, but love the artwork on the old hockey cards, the action shots. I think they're some of the most beautiful cards ever made. You can see there's a BBG card in there, but like, why would I not buy this card? It is beautiful, this Bobby Orr. I'm not going to limit myself if I can find a nice example. All right, I hope everybody enjoyed, and you have a great weekend.